Welcome everyone to today's workshop. Today is about learning to shop your closet, Zoom style, and all around shopping with savvy. And we have the one and only Lisa Sharpe, who is not only a friend of ours, but an insider of Second Act Women. She is a stylist, a professional stylist with the stylish Sparrow. And we are so excited to bring her on. But before that, let's just go ahead and jump right in. Since all of you are fully aware of Second Act Women, we're going to jump right in, and I'm going to introduce Miss Lisa Sharpe to you. Lisa, take it away.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I think it'd be great if we just go ahead and start off with the Zoom in Style segment, because I'm purposefully wearing something that's very plain so that I can show you some of the points that I wanted to share with you about how you can really up your game a little bit and be aware of how you're showing up on camera. So, basic 101, 2 tips kind of before I get into what I'm really going to be talking about today that kind of go without saying, but I wanted to mention them to make sure that everybody is aware, is that you want your camera to be at eye level. You don't want it below, you don't want it too far above, so that you're really kind of engaging eye to eye with who you're interacting with. And lighting is the other piece. And you want your source of lighting to be shining on your face behind your camera. So I've got a window behind my camera. I also have a light set up. And I'm going to push the button here so you can see the difference that having a light makes, depending, it doesn't really work effectively here with this backdrop, but it is a light that I set up behind my camera so that if it were too dark, it would illuminate your face. So those are the 2 things, camera and lights, to keep in mind. And the first thing I wanted to mention is, there's a lot of talk about, business on the top, party on the bottom. And, even newscasters are showing up wearing pajama bottoms and fluffy slippers and then dressed up from the waist up, from the desk up. You probably have seen some of those images. And so I think, all that I will say about that is that I think it has to do with your mindset and tuning into what you're wearing, what mental state that puts you in. So there's some research done, and it's a term called enclothed cognition. So clothing, enclothed, when you're wearing clothes, how it affects how you think. And you can Google it, but it's a study that was done a while back, and they researched having someone wear an artist smock, a white medical coat, and different things like that. And they did research on how it changed their mental state, their behavior, how they showed up, and things like that. And so they're really, and the result was that there is an effect of what we wear and how it changes how we carry ourselves, how we hold ourselves, how we speak, our intonation, and things like that, and confidence. So I would say to you to kind of try it both ways. See if it really does make a difference for you, and maybe do it for a week at a time. Maybe spend a week really dressing fully head to toe, and another week having your sweatpants on the bottom, and you check in with yourself and see if you could feel or see a difference in how you showed up. So that's kind of some background information I wanted to give. And the 3 tips that I have for you today are, number 1, wear your best color. So I'm wearing black to show you something neutral, and you can do it in different ways. I brought a jacket that's in one of my really great colors, and it's different for all of us. For some of us it's red, some of us it's royal blue, some of it's a really warm dusty pink, and that's something that's a whole other topic that Heather Hope in our community is an expert at color consultation with House of Color. So if you're not sure what your best colors are, I recommend doing a session with her and really learning that so that you can know right away what works well for you. So your best color could be your outer layer, your jacket, your cardigan. You could also do the reverse and have your best color be your top on the inside, and then have a neutral piece on top. And so you can choose kind of what combination is best for you, and you can have all of those items hanging together in your closet so that when you've got Zoom meetings, you go to that one section of your closet and you pick your best things that you know are great on camera. So that's what I have to say about wearing your best color. You could also use a scarf. Barbara mentioned that the other day. You know, to bring in your best color. So the next piece I wanted to mention is a focal point. So, you know, when you are wearing your best color, that is one of the focal points, and you don't want to have more than 2 or 3 going on. So I wanted to show you some examples of that. So I've got a neutral color pair of glasses on, and I can switch and go to more of a statement piece of eyewear, and that offers a whole other focal point. And then let's talk about jewelry and accessories. And then I'm excited to see if any of you brought some of your favorite pieces of clothing or accessories to share, and we're going to incorporate that in. But, you know, here's a statement necklace as an example. Fix my camera so you can see me a little bit better. And then here is a statement earring. And I want you to notice how quickly this gets very cluttered. There's way too much going on in this little square. When you look at me, I've got a focal point here. I've got the large earrings. I've got a large necklace. I've got a bright color on. So I think it's really important to choose what you want your focal point to be, and then kind of pare down from there. Robin Bosley is here on the call, and she shared a Coco Chanel quote in the Insiders group a few weeks ago. But you know, another quote from her is, you know, to look in the mirror and take off one piece of jewelry before you walk out the door. I'm sure a lot of you have heard that before, and I think it's really important to think about that for Zoom as well. So I actually even think the jacket and the necklace and the glasses are a little too much for me, for what, as I look in this little square and see myself. So if I were wearing something plain, then I would go with the necklace and just let that kind of stand alone and be the focal point, and then have the glasses complement that, because I just think it enables the viewer to really focus on you and what you have to say, as opposed to all of these things going on. So less is more, and having an intentional impact and choosing your focal point is really important as well. And I'll show you how different it is, you know, when I go back to a neutral pair of glasses. That really changes it up a lot. And if I were to take off the necklace and just put on the earrings, you can see how that adds quite a lot. And I don't know if these are going to go in very quickly, but you get my point. You know, when I've got these going on, you can imagine if I had the jacket, I think that that is enough going on right there. Maybe adding the glasses back. So kind of step back and take a look and evaluate yourself and see how much your eye is really moving around to the various things that you're wearing. Think about the glare on your glasses. If you do have a light going on, I'll show you how much glare, and sometimes there can be a glare even without. These are non-glare, and these have a glare. You can get readers that have a non-glare lens, because sometimes the computer screen in and of itself will really add the glare to your glasses. So especially if you're being filmed or recorded, you want to keep that in mind. So one thing you could do is have, you know, invest in a pair of frames if you are using readers. And then as you progress in your need for magnification, you can take it to an optometrist and have them just do a reader lens with whatever your magnification is and put the non-glare on top of that if you don't want to buy multiple pairs over time. So that's what I would offer there. So tip 1 was choosing your focal point. Tip 2 was choosing your best color and wearing your best color in one form or another. And tip 3 is to define your lips. So I think that choosing a shade of lipstick that really causes you to show up well is important. And that's different for all of us. It could be more of a pink for some of us, more of a red for others. And, you know, when you don't have that defined, it's really, your face just gets kind of lost. So those are my top 3 Zoom tips. And I'm excited to see from you guys what you have brought to share that's one of your favorite pieces of clothing or accessories. And I'll have another chance for this too when we talk about shopping. Who has something that you brought that you wanted to show us or hold up to the camera?
There we go. Okay.
I love, did you get your hair cut, Verona?
I did.
I love it.
Thank you. Thank you, Lisa. So I'm big on accessories. Okay, these are my babies.
I love it.
But I had another question that I've been struggling with for the last few weeks. And, you know, could I just ask you now? Would that be okay?
Sure.
I'm struggling to find the perfect jeans. And I was hoping you could just share some tips with us, because I've kind of, my weight fluctuated, and now my current jeans, they look terrible. So I was wondering, do you have, and I mean, I've seen, you know, a lot out there in terms of the perfect fit and whatever the case may be, but I'm a big, you know, I love jeans, and I currently right now, I don't have a single pair that looks good on me. So do you have any tips that, you know, when I start to go out there and buy one, what would you suggest that I look for?
I would love to talk with you one-on-one. So let's set up a little Zoom meeting, you and me, and I'll help you with that.
Thank you. Okay.
It's a little too much to go into kind of for a quick answer right now. I'd love to talk with you more about that.
Gotcha. Okay. Thank you.
So anybody else have anything you wanted to share that you like to wear on Zoom? Okay.
Hi, Lisa. It's Danielle here. Hi. I don't have it with me because otherwise I have to go running up to my closet, but usually my go-to shirt, especially when I meet with clients, I'm a nutritionist, is that I have this like kind of this jewel tone blue shirt that then has a little bit of a cowl neck, and it has a slight reflection on part of it. So part of it's matte, other part has a little bit of reflection. And that really has been my go-to because I find it's the right color. And also when you're meeting with someone for the first time, I find blue is just has a level of professionalism that at least my clients are all busy professionals. So that's really my go-to shirt. I'm not wearing it right now because I'm reserving it for a meeting later. But I also have learned that like as you mentioned, you're wearing black right now, that if in general, you know, don't wear black if you're able to stay more of, like, you can do like a navy and such, and that applies also for when you do videos. Then it's funny, so I have a lot of like black jackets, and then I found that it just becomes too harsh when you're on video. So that's one thing I've been mindful of. And then I keep the earrings simple, and I do that intentionally, especially if I have to switch to like an earbud or something, so I don't get entangled. There's not too much going on, but I feel like it just keeps it very simple, so there I have like the long hair. And then I find that it's better to have my hair down versus back, because then I don't know, I don't know if your face seems to look weird when the hair is like fully back. I've noticed like it looks fine in person, but on the camera. So those are sort of my tips and what I've been finding that's been working for me. But that blue shirt, you'll see it a lot. So today I just did the gray.
I love it. Thank you for sharing all of that. And I think that the psychology of color is another really interesting thing to delve into. It's something you can Google and learn about kind of what different things colors bring up, you know, as far as dependability, reliability, and things like that. So, or fun and playfulness.
Right.
And
yes.
yeah, I mean, I think the thing with earrings too, to be aware of is just, you know, if you are doing a presentation, as you're talking and you're moving around, if this is kind of jangling around, I think it's something to be aware of, that, you know, you don't want to have too much of that going if people are really focused on you for a length of time. And it also depends on your profession and who you're talking to. Yeah, thank you. Those are all.
Right, I was gonna say, all right, Barb, you go, because I was just gonna say, I mean, I'll go after you. Go for it.
Okay. This is so once upon a time when I had a side hustle with Stella and Dot, which I still love, but I discovered the joys and loves of accessorizing. I used to only wear really great earrings, and maybe that was it, but no bracelets and things. So I do have a really great earring collection. I don't want to tip it over, but you could see I have a variety. These are my favorite, my little love earrings from Stella and Dot. But I'm into accessorizing. Now I love clothes overall, and my uniform, so to speak, is usually a graphic tee, a blazer, some heels or flats, depending on the day, and jeans, and a really funky hairstyle, because you guys know I got to show off my little streak. And I love scarves. I just love accessorizing. My thing, and especially now more here, I found myself pulling out more of my colorful shirts or ones with patterns and all that sort of thing. So that's me.
And I always, some people call accessories the icing on the cake. And I like to think it's like your punctuation mark that really sets you apart from everyone else. And I think you do that so well every time you show up.
Oh, thank you.
All right, and so now I'm on the opposite spectrum as the work wife here, because as you can see, I got the black. I'm very kind of neutral in color. I even though I know Heather Hope has tried to kind of get me to put different colors on, I will venture into red, and I think that's about the extent of my color palette. But usually I'm the browns, the blacks, the grays, and kind of those more of those muted colors, like definitely is my style. And I always am wearing very kind of, basic type of jewelry. So I guess I'm curious, for those of us who are a little bit more shy when it comes to color exploration or even accessory, like Barb does a really good job of layering multiple kind of just different styles of necklaces, and I get stuck. I'm like, I'm gonna just throw on one. So how do you kind of break from that comfort zone? I mean, is it something that you can start with one thing, like maybe you focus on your necklace, or you focus on your earrings or your hair, or what is it that can help move me along in my path?
Can I point one thing out? Can you guys tell the difference? Look at my flowers and look at hers.
Oh wait, what was it? Yeah, it is. And then you know what? We were at our desk, and I have a similar style, like white, also flowers too. And she's trying to put her colored flowers. I'm like, get your colored flowers out of my flowers. I like them white. So I really struggle with color, let's just say.
Well, I think it's you're able to do it in a way that is still very vibrantly you, Lupe, because it's neutral, but it's not boring. And so I don't feel like you have to really try and be someone that you're not. I think that it's about knowing what makes you comfortable. You always look very, very polished. And I don't think of you as someone who is trying to fade into the background or avoiding anything. Okay. I think you can just embrace that as your signature style and what you feel good doing. And maybe when you are ready or you feel like a little bit adventurous, think about what is the one area or item that you would feel you would want to experiment with, whether it's a jacket or a top or an accessory that would be a little bit risky for you to push it just a little bit, but not make you feel like you're trying to be someone that you're not. Because I think your personal style has to really feel resonant within you so that you can really embody what you're wearing when you show up. And you always have a great definition of your lips and a beautiful color on. And so I think it's taking a small step as opposed to trying to, take on a whole thing that's not you.
There. All right. Awesome. Thank you, my dear.
Keep doing what you're doing.
See, Barb.
Hi, Lisa. I agree about Lupe. I think you do have a very nice style that really is reflective of who you are. I want to talk a little bit about, I guess, aging. I can't wear what I used to wear, which is what I like to wear, but I can't necessarily do that anymore. And also mental health, right? So my mental health has impacted how I show up for myself. I mean, look at the way I'm showing. This is how I show up for work. Like I no longer, you know, I just like this. Showing up is the goal, and that's enough, right? But I understand the difference it makes when I just throw on a little bit of lipstick, and it you know, and it changes the game up a little bit. But I'm no longer interested in accessorizing because it just weighs me down somehow emotionally. It just makes me feel heavier. So like I stopped wearing earrings, even though I was like a hoop girl. I no longer wear rings or bracelets. I stopped wearing bracelets when I was giving presentations because they told us they were a distraction. So I stopped using bracelets then. I won't even use a cuff anymore. I do, and I'm also overweight. So I want to, just a few tips, just general, nothing specific, as to how we can show up and still feel like ourselves without it being a burden, right? Like, oh, I have to do all this work. Like sometimes I see Barb and I'm like, man, she has a lot of energy. Like I cannot do all of that. Like makeup and clothes, like that's just too much. But it works for her, right? It keeps her going. I can agree to a lip, right? Because that's simple enough. But like, I'm in a little bit of a slump. But I want to work my way back into transitioning into participating.
Okay. So that's a perfect segue into talking about being a savvy shopper, because one of the points that I'm going to talk about is choosing things that bring you delight and really light you up. And when you're in a low place, sometimes it's just a notch up, you know, it's not a full, you know, experience like you may have when you're not struggling, you know, emotionally. But I think I think in your case, and I've been in that place before, it's a form of self-care when you show up for other people and for yourself. And I think with talking about being on camera and Zooming, you know, we have to look at ourselves, and then that creates a whole other dynamic of comparison. And, you know, if we're meeting in person, we can't see ourselves. So it's a whole different layer that we're having to deal with if we're not in a good place. And so I do think that what you put on to show up for your day, when you see yourself, it creates a positive or a negative feedback loop, because what you see, or when you look in the mirror, is reflected back to you. That informs you, that sends you a message, and then you radiate that back outward. So I think keeping that in mind about how can I take care of myself, and how can I show up in a way that is really nurturing myself, even when I don't feel like it, is really important. So, you know, whether it's putting on one color that makes you feel a little, just one notch up, or putting on a lip color, and then talking about aging and our bodies changing. That's something I would love to talk with you more about as well, because I'm dealing with that personally. And each year it's just a little bit different. And even some things that worked last year and 2 years ago and 3 years ago, they don't work anymore.
Well,
so
the other
we
thing
have to kind of evolve and find our new normal, so that our closet and our clothing is evolving with us as we change and we move along.
So that's the thing, right? Because if we're going to shop our closet, right, like I feel like maybe my closet is stagnant in many ways, right? Because it's been the same for so long. And then the other thing is that there's definitely a shift, right? Because we're not going into the office anymore. And so what I would wear, I no longer feel like, why would I even bother? But you're right, because part of my problem is I see myself and I'm like, what a hot mess. But it infiltrates like the rest of my day as I continue to show up like this and have to look at myself. So it's like a message that I'm sending myself unknowingly that I could actually shift. So thank you for that. That was super, super helpful.
Oh, good. Well, let's move into talking about being a savvy shopper and shopping our closet, because I want to start with the quote that I love, that kind of connects back to what you're sharing with us, Brenda, and that is that opening up your closet should be like arriving at a really good party where everyone you see is someone you like. And I just love that quote because I think that it is what we want to experience when we walk in our closet. And so just as we as women are changing throughout our lives, we're going to shed some of those things. And you know, my business is Stylish Sparrow, so I talk about shedding feathers. You know, let some of those feathers go and molt so that you can bring in some new ones that really are in alignment with who you are, where you're going, and what you're doing in your life right now, because those things change. I love a quote that one woman said to her husband. She said, "You've been married to 7 different women and they're all me," because I think that's kind of what we do as women throughout our lives. And so, of course, our clothing is gonna change as that happens to us internally. And it doesn't mean you throw everything away and you start all over. That's not what that means at all. So I want to talk about 5-star criteria, and this is going to be something that you can download. So you can take notes if you want to. It's also something that I'll be sending to you. But I think that when you go through your closet, Brenda, and all of you, and you're looking at what you have, or if you're out in a store shopping or online shopping, you want to ask yourself these 5 questions and go through this checklist to decide if you're going to keep this item in your closet or if you're going to bring it home into your closet. And so the first star is fit. You want the item to fit really well. And if it doesn't, and it requires just a small alteration like a hemline or something like that, then if you're willing to pay the money and spend the time and all of that, great. But I think that the fit really needs to be impeccable, or just let it go. Because if it's not, and you're trying to put a square peg in a round hole, so to speak, it's never going to be right if you've got to make a bunch of changes to it. So the fit really needs to be right. And as far as your closet goes, if things don't fit right now and you wonder if they might fit later, pull those off to the side, put them in the back dark corner of your closet, put them under your bed, put them in a guest room closet. So you're not looking at those things every day and processing that information over and over and over. So that's what I would say about fit in your closet and fit in the dressing room when you're shopping. And there's lots of things we could talk about as a subset of that, like where should the sleeve be and where should this, and that's a whole nother just as a broad brushstroke, the fit needs to be right for that first star. Second, we've talked about, which is color, and you want to choose colors when you're bringing in color to your wardrobe, and even your neutrals can do this in such a way that they bring, if it's the right neutral for you, they bring a radiance to your skin tone. They kind of brighten and lighten even when you don't have any makeup on, and you can see the difference, especially if you put a mirror in a daylight window and put a color under your chin that you know is really great for you, that you get a lot of compliments on, and then put the color in question underneath and see how it changes what happens in your skin tone. Does it make you look tired? Things like that. Does it bring forward some of the undertones in a way that's not pleasing? Third star is the style. You want to choose styles that are in harmony with the lines and curves of your body. And you may not even know what that means specifically, but when you put it on that style is really right for you, and you feel so confident when you wear it. And this is an exercise that I do with clients where we look in the mirror together and we name what is it specifically about that style that's right for you. So that's one of the 5 stars. The 4th star is purpose. You know exactly where you're going to wear it in your life. You know what purpose it serves. It's not something you're buying for someday, what if, or I should have this. It's something that I can wear that next week to X, Y, and Z. And the last piece that Brenda, I think you were hinting at, is that piece of delight. Does it bring you some delight? Marie Kondo says, does it spark joy? So whatever phrase or terminology really resonates with you, if you're paying money for it and you're going to put it on your body every day, it needs to make you happy, and you need to feel good when you look at it. So the 5 stars are fit, color, style, purpose and delight. And so when you are looking at an item in a store or in your closet and you have it on and you've got question marks coming up, run through this checklist and see if you can pinpoint which of these 5 criteria it's not meeting. Because if it's a 4 out of 5 stars, then it's a near miss and it's not worth your hard-earned money. And if it's keeping you from wearing it and it's hanging in your closet, then that's kind of a waste of space and time and energy. So I think that it's more powerful than just asking yourself, does this spark joy? Because if you can name what it is that's not working for you, you're not going to buy it again, and it's going to save you a lot of money. So I wanted to pause there because that's kind of a lot of information. And if anybody else had an example of something that you brought that you feel like, yes, this really demonstrates, you know, one of those 5 stars to me, please share that with us. And what questions or comments do you guys have?
So I've got a question. So how often do you go into your closet and actually purge it? So as to say, okay, this no longer suits me, because I am definitely one who just continues to accumulate. And I love the idea of kind of moving things that no longer fit you into a certain section that you hope will fit you again. But how often do you suggest that?
For where we live in Denver, I do it twice a year. And I think, at a minimum, you need to do it once a year, but I think twice a year works really well, because right now is a great example. We're winding down summer, and it's a great time to look at everything that you have for summer that you only wear in summer, and ask yourself, did I wear this? How did I feel? Do I want to wear it next year? Because now you're very clear on honest and accurate with how much you have worn it. Whereas if you look at it next summer, when you pull it out to wear it again, it's a little fuzzy and you may not be sure. And maybe it was a go-to 2 summers ago or 3 summers ago, but it's just not feeling so fresh for you anymore. So I think as we go into fall and winter, it's a great time to take stock of your summer things. And then as you're pulling out your fall and winter clothes, looking at those and trying things on and thinking about what you're really excited to wear and what things you're ready to shed. So I think the season change is the perfect time to do it. And I think that, another important question to ask yourself is, does this feel like an old version of me? Is this something that used to be my jam and it was a go-to, but it's just not anymore? Because it's a little confusing, because it still has that hook on you, because it was something that was so resonant with you. But when you realize that you've kind of evolved through that phase, that's a great time to let it go. So I think that's a good question to ask yourself.
I've always had that habit. I don't know where I got it from, but I have always flipped closets, especially when I had my house and I literally had a couple of extra rooms. I literally would switch out, from fall and winter would come into my room, and spring and summer would go into the other closet. And it always gets me so excited. Like, I can't wait to do that in my little place here, because I have my spring and summer, or I'm sorry, my fall and winter in my front closet here. And it just makes me feel like I have new clothes. It
does. It really does.
Really
and I worked with a few clients that have one wardrobe and they wear it all year long. And, for someone that's not switching out their closet, I would still say do it seasonally, because we're changing out all kinds of things. It's just part of what the calendar and the season is calling for. Whether it's a new, changing what we're cooking or bringing in plants, all of that seasonality is a great time to check in.
Yeah.
So we've talked a little bit about the benefits of using this 5-star criteria and how it can save us money and mental energy. And I wanted to highlight the phrase finding freedom in your closet, because I think that freedom means that you know how to use everything you have effectively. You're content with what you own, so that we consume less. And that's part of shopping our closet, is being able to see how to use what we have in a fresh new way. And if you think about how that benefits you as an individual, that's a wonderful thing. But what's really cool and amazing is to think about how that affects other people around the globe and the planet, because there's a term, fast fashion, which some of you may be familiar with, and it's the direction the fashion industry has gone within the last several years of manufacturing things and having new things in the store every week, very low quality. And I think of it almost like a Kleenex box where you just are pulling them out and using them, and it's disposable. Barbara. And the other way to think about it too, that I think is a great example, is thinking about fast food versus slow food, and how fast food is not as satisfying and it creates a craving for more. And I think that fast fashion can do that as well, because it's not really what we're after. It kind of satisfies an immediate need. So that's buying things in high volume for a very low price. So I wanted to mention that as a term, and I'm going to share my screen to show you a really great tool. Oh, can you enable that, Barb? Okay. There we go. Okay. All right. So taking photos of what you own, and you can just do it on a white background of a door. I recommend hanging things as opposed to laying them out flat. This is an example of a client's closet. And you can do all of your shoes on a white background and so on. And when you start to see your things in categories like this, or you have them hanging in your closet, you start to see where some of the holes are, and you start to see what's missing. And this is something that, that I do with clients. And you see kind of what they have a lot of in duplicate as well. And you can see that for yourself. So, you know, shopping your closet involves taking stock of what you own. So you can imagine going through your own closet. This is a virtual example. And laying things out all in one category. And then mixing and matching and putting things together in outfits so that you can see how it all comes together. You can see what all of your possibilities are. And it helps you start to see how to wear things in a new way. So that's what it means to shop your closet. And then when you start to see, oh, you know, I could wear five more outfits if I had the right black jacket, or, you know, the perfect colorful top, or a print maybe that would bring things together. So I wanted to show that to you as an example. I'm going to stop the screen share here.
Is that a free service, Lisa, that you do, or is that something you use with your clients only?
It's something I use with my clients, and then once I've worked with them, they have that, you know, included with the package for 30 days, and then they can do a small subscription to keep that all year long. So then when they go shopping and things like that, they can scroll through and say, hey, how many things do I have in my closet that I can wear with this, and have kind of their closet in their pocket. But before I found out about that tool, I used to just shoot photos on clients' iPhones. So that's what you can do, is lay out like a white sheet with some good lighting and lay out your outfits. And you could put an album in your phone and say, here are all of my work outfits. Here are all of my weekend outfits, and do it that way. So just do a flat lay is what I used to do before I had that tool.
That's a great idea. I love that.
It made me think of, Barbara, what you've described in your closet, where you have magazine pictures and ideas. You're bored.
I do.
Yeah.
I snip. I go through now Pinterest, and because I don't read as many magazines as I used to, but or honestly, I'll go to Gap, Banana Republic, even Target style, and I'll snip pictures that that I love the style, and that's how I shop my closet, which now I'm loving, that I can actually spend the day doing what you just did, and not only take those pictures, but shop my closet and put them into buckets like you just did.
Yeah. And like,
But yeah,
turn on some fun music, have your favorite drink, and just block off, 2 or 3 hours.
Yeah.
Go through and explore what you have and create those new outfits and photograph them, because you're not going to remember, and include the accessories and shoes too.
Especially when you wear that one
workshop, Barb. That's
right? Yeah, exactly.
And for the new year, with vision boarding, it goes.
Yes. This is my fashion board. What I love is just pulling that together. But I was going to say, it's especially, I had a moment. Anyway, yeah, it's a great idea.
Well, I wanted to talk a little bit about what kind of gets in the way of being a savvy shopper and some of the pitfalls, the barriers. And I wanted to do a time check with you, Barb.
11 minutes.
Okay, perfect. Because I think identifying kind of what gets us stuck is important. And I think some of those things can be bargains and things that are really cheap. I was talking to some women a couple weeks ago at a gathering, and they were talking about how they have a few things hanging in their closet still with the tags on because they were $19.99 or $14.99 and such a great deal. And they felt like they should scoop it up, and it's just never been quite right. And I would love to go in their closet with them and go through the 5-star criteria and see what is not working for them. Because I think it can be so tempting when we've got those bargains. And I posted a couple of clothing swaps, and I think that can be really tempting too when something is free. So you really want it to match up and be in alignment with everything, even if it's free or cheap. So I wanted to mention that.
Or the Goodwill?
Yes, so fun. I just went to our class a couple weeks ago, and that was super fun.
Well, it's interesting, Lisa. A lot of people may not know, but the Goodwill has upscale stores in larger cities. And so ours is located over here. It's I think the one that they have here is Deja
Blue,
right? That's one of their stores. And so Brenda and others, they have those specialty upscale, not that you need upscale to shop the upscale Goodwill versions, but because you could find some good finds at them.
I'm glad you brought
that. Cherry Creek.
Yes, I'm glad you brought that up, because my other favorite one, I hope they're still open. I've been meaning to check. It's called Queen Esther's Closet. They're up in Broomfield. And in a strip mall.
Look at Lupe.
And what's really they're a nonprofit, and they provide clean water to a country in Africa, and they're set up like a boutique. So they have everything sized and organized well, and the people there are trained to really service you, and it's a wonderful experience. And there's a great pho restaurant on that strip mall if you like pho, and it's right next to the Ark as well, the big Ark store. So that's a place I recommend going. So the other two things I wanted to mention as a pitfall are impulse shopping. When you're under the gun, you've got a speaking engagement or a presentation or a social event, and you're just out rushing around trying to find something. And I think that when you have the time and the energy to plan to go out for some experimental shopping and, try some things on that you normally wouldn't try on when you don't have any pressing deadline, and take a look in your closet and see what the holes are. If you had a date night, or you had an interview, or you had a presentation, I think that it's important to be ready for that instead of shopping in a panic. So take stock of what some of the missing holes are, and look ahead on your calendar for what you have coming up, and make sure that you've got what you need to wear for those events, because I think it's an awful experience when you put all of this time and energy into a presentation, for example, and then it's 2 days before and you don't know what you're going to wear, and you're going to be photographed or filmed or just standing in front of people. It's not a good feeling. So look at your calendar and think ahead so that you're not impulse shopping. taking a look at my notes to make sure I've covered everything. Okay, so finally, I've got a few questions for you, and these are going to be on the download as well. So you can, if you want to, you can write these down, but you don't have to. I think when you're looking, I think all of these would apply to your, yep, these would apply to your closet, or when you're shopping in a store. Things to ask yourself. The first question is, can I see myself wearing this 30 times? And I think 30 is a great number because, you know, if it's too high, 50, that's a little daunting to really make that commitment. And if it's too low, you know, like 10 or 20 or 15, that's really not a lot of wearings for an item. So I think 30 is a good number, and just ask yourself that question kind of hypothetically as you're looking at an item, because you want things to really serve you well. The next question is, where am I going to wear this? I mentioned that earlier. Do I have a place in mind in my lifestyle, something I go to regularly on a weekly or monthly basis where I can really imagine myself wearing this? You don't want a collection of 20 cocktail dresses if you only go to 1 or 2 cocktail parties per year. How many of you heard of the 1 in, 1 out rule? I have a client that follows this, and a roommate taught me that several years ago, that, you know, anytime you bring home something new, you got to be willing to part with something. Barb, what do you think of that? Is that something you do?
I try, well, to be honest with you, it's hard to get rid of something, but I do purge when I'm switching seasons. So I do get rid of a lot of stuff, and I give them to Mama Brooks.
Nice.
And or if I know that they can't fit her or it's not her style, I give them to the Goodwill. But I think it's a good rule. It's solid. I'm really all about not having as the quantity as I am quality now.
Yes, I think that's what it's all about. It's not so much about following a rule. And I take myself through that exercise to see if there is something I can shed. And I'm not rigid, and I don't make myself get rid of something that I don't want to get rid of, because I don't think that serves a purpose either. But it's an exercise I go through when I bring home new things or a new item, just to make sure, you know, hey, do I like this more than what I have? And am I willing, is this really replacing that? So that I don't end up with too much and that overwhelmed feeling of a closet full of clothes and nothing to wear.
Yeah.
Okay, so another question is, oh, this is a good one. Can I wear this with 3 things in my closet? At least 3.
Ooh, that's good.
Because that tells you that it's in harmony with what you've got. It's going to really expand your options, as opposed to bringing home something that now you have nothing to wear with it. So now you got to go find stuff to go with that new item. And then that thing that was $14.99 cost you, you know, 3 to 4 times that. And then, of course, you want to make sure that it's meeting the 5-star criteria, you know, as a reference point. And my closing quote is from Vivian Westwood: buy less, choose well, and make it last. I think that's a great note to end on. So questions, comments?
So Lisa,
That's fantastic. Before we take comments, let's go ahead and close out the recording. We want to thank you so very much for being here, Lisa. This is great.
Welcome.
Yes, and they can find you where, Lisa?
So I'm on Facebook under Stylish Sparrow. I'm on Instagram, The Stylish Sparrow, and my website is stylishsparrow.com.
Excellent. Thank you for joining us and for being a part of Second Act Women.